My daughter Rebecca looked me straight in the eye and said, "Mom, if you don't give us the money, you'll never see Emma and Jake again." Emma was 7. Jake was 5. They were my world, the light in my days after their grandfather passed. Every weekend, they'd run into my house calling "Grandma" and fill every corner with laughter and sticky fingerprints and the kind of chaos that makes life worth living. And Rebecca was threatening to take that away from me unless I handed over $75,000. But what Rebecca didn't know was that I had my phone in my pocket, and that phone was recording every single word of her extortion attempt, because that's what this was: extortion, blackmail, using my own grandchildren as weapons against their grandmother, who loved them more than life itself. Let me tell you how my own daughter learned that some battles you just shouldn't pick. It started 6 months after my husband Frank died. I was still raw, still learning how to live. I felt too quiet, too empty. Rebecca and her husband David had been supportive during the funeral, helping with arrangements, checking on me regularly. I thought they were being loving. I didn't realize they were calculating. Frank had left me comfortable. Not rich, but secure. The house was paid off. There was a decent life insurance policy. And 40 years of careful saving had built up a nice nest egg. About $350,000 total. Nothing extravagant, but enough for me to live independently and maybe leave something for the grandchildren's college funds. Rebecca started dropping hints about money troubles around Thanksgiving. David's construction business was slow, she said. They were behind on the mortgage. Christmas was going to be tight for the kids. I helped, of course. What grandmother wouldn't? I gave them $5,000 for Christmas presents and caught up their mortgage payments. Another $8,000. But it wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. By February, the requests were getting bigger. Rebecca needed $15,000 for David's business equipment. Then, another $10,000 for Emma's special tutoring program. Then, $12,000 because their car broke down and they needed something reliable. Every request came with the same emotional manipulation. "We hate asking you, Mom, but we don't know where else to turn. The kids are asking why Grandma won't help Mommy and Daddy. We'll pay you back as soon as David's business picks up." I gave them over $50,000 in 8 months. And David's business never picked up because there was no business crisis. There never had been. I found out the truth by accident. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, mentioned seeing David at the casino every Thursday night. "Lucky man," she said. "Always seems so happy when he leaves." Happy because he was gambling away my dead husband's life insurance money. Happy because his mother-in-law was too grief-stricken and too trusting to ask hard questions. When I confronted Rebecca, she didn't deny it, didn't apologize, didn't even look ashamed. Instead, she got angry at me for spying on them, for not trusting family, for being selfish with money when your own daughter is struggling. ... Mom, we need another $75,000 to get back on our feet. David made some bad investments, but this will cover everything, and we can start fresh. I said no. For the first time in 8 months, I said no. That's when Rebecca showed me exactly who she'd become. "Well then, I guess you've made your choice," she said. "If you're not going to help your own family, then maybe you don't deserve to be part of this family." I asked what she meant. "The kids, Mom, Emma and Jake. If you're going to be selfish with your money, then you're going to be selfish with your time too. No more weekend visits, no more holidays, no more phone calls. You want to act like we don't matter to you? Fine, but my children don't need that kind of negativity in their lives." She was using my grandchildren as hostages, threatening to cut them out of my life, cut me out of theirs. unless I paid her ransom. I felt like I was drowning. Those children were everything to me. They were Frank's legacy, the reason I got up in the morning, the only family I had left that still felt like family. But something deep inside me, maybe Frank's voice, maybe my own stubborn pride, whispered, "Don't you dare give in to this." So I said, "Rebecca, if that's how you really feel, then I guess we don't have anything more to discuss." And I reached into my pocket and turned off the recording app I'd started when the conversation began. The next morning, I called my attorney, Susan Walsh. I'd known Susan for 15 years. She'd handled Frank's will and helped us with some property issues. "Susan," I said, "I need to know about grandparent rights in this state." "Helen, what's going on?" I played her the recording. Susan was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Helen, this isn't just about grandparent rights. This is extortion. Your daughter just committed a crime." Over the next 2 weeks, Susan and I built our case. We documented every loan. I'd given Rebecca and David $50,000 that was never meant to be repaid, money taken under false pretenses while they gambled away their actual income. We gathered evidence of David's. "So you're still demanding $75,000 in exchange for access to my grandchildren?" "It's not a demand, Mom. It's just priorities. If we don't matter to you, then why should our kids matter to you?" "And if I don't give you the money, I'll never see Emma and Jake again?" "That's your choice to make." I thanked her for clarifying her position and hung up. Then I called Susan and told her to file everything. The police showed up at Rebecca's door on a Thursday morning with a warrant for extortion charges. The family court papers were served the same day, along with a temporary restraining order preventing Rebecca from interfering with my relationship with the grandchildren. Rebecca called me screaming, "Mom, how could you do this? I'm your daughter." "Yes," I said, "and Emma and Jake are my grandchildren. You tried to steal them from me, Rebecca. You tried to use their love as a weapon against me. That's not something a mother does. That's something a criminal does." The case went to court 3 months later. Rebecca's lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive old woman trying to control her family with money. He argued that Rebecca had every right to choose who her children spent time with. But then Susan played the recordings. The judge, a woman in her 50s with grandchildren of her own, listened to my daughter threatening to keep my grandchildren away from me unless I paid her $75,000. She heard Rebecca admit that David had gambling problems, but demand more money anyway. She heard the cold calculation in Rebecca's voice as she used children as leverage. "Mrs. Patterson," the judge said to Rebecca, "what you've described in these recordings isn't parenting, it's extortion. You've attempted to monetize your children's relationship with their grandmother." The judge granted me supervised visitation immediately and ordered a full custody evaluation. Rebecca and David were required to complete parenting classes and gambling addiction counseling before they could regain full custody. But the criminal case was even more satisfying. Rebecca pled guilty to attempted extortion to avoid a trial. She got 18 months probation, community service, and had to pay restitution for the $50,000 she'd taken from me under false pretenses. David pled guilty to fraud and gambling-related charges. He got 2 years probation and was banned from all casinos in the state. But the real victory came 6 months later. The custody evaluation revealed that Rebecca and David had been using the children's college funds, money I'd set up years ago, to cover their gambling debts. The court removed them as trustees and appointed me as the sole guardian of the children's educational trusts. More importantly, Emma and Jake were back in my life every weekend. They didn't understand all the legal details, but they knew that Grandma had fought to make sure they could still come over for cookies and stories and the kind of love that doesn't come with conditions. Rebecca and I have a relationship now, but it's different. Careful. She knows that I love her, but I don't trust her. Love and trust are separate things, and she destroyed one while I held on to the other. She's getting help for the financial problems that led her down this path. David is in Gamblers Anonymous and working steady construction jobs. They're learning to live within their means instead of gambling with other people's money. But the dynamic has changed forever. Rebecca learned that you can't threaten a grandmother's relationship with her grandchildren and expect to win that fight, because here's what my daughter forgot. I didn't survive 72 years on this earth by backing down when bullies tried to take what mattered most to me. I raised her to be strong and independent, but somehow she missed the lesson that strength doesn't mean stealing from the people who love you. She tried to use my grandchildren as pawns in her financial game. She found out that those children weren't just my weakness. They were my greatest source of strength. Emma is 10 now. Jake is 8. They come over every Saturday morning and we make pancakes together. They help me tend the garden their grandfather planted. They listen to stories about their family history and learn about the people who came before them. And they're learning something else, something I hope they never forget. Real love doesn't come with conditions. Real love doesn't threaten to disappear if you don't pay for it. Real love fights for you, protects you, and never uses you as a weapon against someone else. Rebecca thought she could take my grandchildren hostage to get what she wanted from me. Instead, she learned that some hostages know how to fight back, and their grandmother taught them how to win. They call it the grandchildren hostage situation in our family now. The kids don't understand why we call it that, but someday they will. Someday they'll understand that their grandmother went to court, faced down lawyers and judges and her own daughter, all to make sure that love couldn't be bought, sold, or held for ransom. And when that day comes, they'll know exactly what kind of woman raised them. The kind who never backs down when her family needs her most.